Hello guys, Fish767 here. So today we're taking a look at Jund Dragons. And so the commander of this Jund Dragons deck is Veavictus Asmadi the Dire. He's 3 and Jund. He's a 6/6 flyer, legendary creature Elder Dragon. Whenever it attacks, for each player, choose target permanent that player controls. Those players sacrifice those permanents. Each player sacrificed a permanent this way reveals the top card of their library, then puts it on the battlefield if it's a permanent card. So it's really a control commander, and we win through normal either commander damage or we deal them however much it takes to kill them. So that's how we win with this deck, and we use the commander normally to clear the path for our dragons and make sure that our opponents don't have anything very large on the field. It's often not a problem, and then if we can just get a couple more dragons on the field, we can quickly win the game, especially if it's one-on-one. If it's more players, it might be a little bit harder, but one-on-one, it should be no problem. So anyway, we've got Black Market in here. So this is really nice because we can blow up creatures, and then we can get counters on it to give us more black mana. We're running, if I'm remembering correctly, 13 of each basic, and that's our mana pool. 42 lands because it's got a nice land sub-theme and also a graveyard sub-theme. So we've got Wilderness Reclamation at the beginning. We're going to step on top all lands you control. Tyrant's Familiar is 7 cast 5/5 flying haste. Lieutenant, as long as you control your commander, gets +2/+2, and as whenever it attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. It's a really good card. We have Vraska, Golgari Queen, a 4-drop 4 loyalty commander. +2, you may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, gain 1 life and draw a card. -3, destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. And -9, you get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So get that emblem and then just swing something at everybody. It's a good idea. We got Golgari Charm. It's an instant. It's a 2-cast instant. Choose one. All creatures get -1/-1 until the end of turn. Destroy target enchantment or regenerate each creature control. If you guys watched my previous video on the Shroom, the Hegemon deck tech, I didn't mention how many lands were in there. There were 36 lands, or not 36. There were 38 lands. There should have been 38. Anyway, you got Lord Windgrace, 2 colorless, and Jund, Legendary Planeswalker Windgrace. +2, discard a card, then draw a card. If a land card is discarded this way, draw an additional card. -3, return to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. -11, destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green cat creature tokens with Forest Walk, can be your commander and has 5 loyalty. Pretty good card, all in all. And plus we've got that land graveyard sub-theme, so he's really nice in here. Cultivate is a 3-drop sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put one onto the battlefield, the other into your hand, then shuffle. The reason why we have this land sub-theme is because I had used all the artifact ramp in my Shroom deck, so that's why we have lands here. Domri, Anarch of Bolas, 3 cast, 3 loyalty, legendary planeswalker Domri. Creatures to control get +1/+0 as a passive. +1, add either red or green, and creature spells you cast this turn can't be countered, which is really nice, especially in my play group. And -2, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So that's pretty helpful. Zendikar Resurgence is a very powerful card and one of our key pieces in this deck. We don't really have a combo, but it's really helpful for what we do. It's a 7-drop enchantment. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced, and whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So straightforward, it's really nice. Get that out as soon as possible. We have Warstorm Surge, a 6-drop enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player, which is really helpful. We've got Necromantic Selection. It's only in here as filler because I don't have enough copies of the other card that's supposed to be in here. So you don't have to include it. You can if you want. It's a 7-drop, destroy all creatures, then return creature card, put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie. In addition to its other colors and types, and then you exile Necromantic Selection. The better card to put in here would be Deadbridge Chant, which is a 6-drop. It has 4 colorless, a green and a black. Enchantment, when it enters the battlefield, you put the top 10 cards of your library in your graveyard. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose a card from a graveyard at random. If its creature card goes onto the field, otherwise it goes into your hand. That's the optimal choice. Sangromancer, a 4-drop flying 3/3 vampire shaman. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may gain 3 life, and whenever an opponent discards a card, you may gain 3 life. Very helpful. We definitely need to be keeping our life up in this one. We've got Statue and Status. Status is either a black or a green instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains Death Touch until the end of the turn. If a person's attacking you with a bunch of stuff out, and you've got with a bunch of stuff, and you have Sarkin out, and you've got a dragon, just give the dragon Death Touch, and you're safe. You got to do that on the stack though. And Statue, 4-drop instant, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. And then we have Samut, Tyrant Smasher, 2 and hybrid of red and green. Creatures you control have haste, legendary planeswalker Samut. -1, target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until the end of the turn, scry 1. It's got 5 loyalty, so we definitely want our creatures to have haste. It makes it really, really tough for our opponents to anticipate our next move. We've got Bladewing the Risen, so he's 3 colorless, and then 2 red and 2 black. Flying Zombie Dragon, he's a 4/4. When he enters the battlefield, you may return target dragon permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then you can pay black and red and dragon creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of the turn. So he's really good, especially if our commander dies. We can just put him in the graveyard and then reanimate him on the next turn. I've actually done that before, and both of them had haste, so that was wonderful. I actually won on that turn. We've got Culligan the Storm's Fury. He's a 5-drop legendary creature dragon. 4/5 flyer. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of the turn. And he's got dash for 5, which means that you play him and then you return to your hand at the end of the turn, but he has haste. Joyra, Venerated Fire Mage, a 5-drop legendary planeswalker Jaya. It's not Joyra, it's Jaya. My bad. If another red source you control will deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much +1 to that permanent or player instead. -2, it deals 2 damage to any target, so I got 5 loyalty, which is pretty good for a commander. Or planeswalker, my bad. We got a 3-drop Putrefy. It's an instant. 1, a black and a green, and destroy target creature or artifact, and it can't be regenerated. I'm trying to get my phone to focus here. It doesn't want to focus. Next up, we've got Haunt of Hightower. Yeah, the Haunt of Hightower. It's 4 and 2 black. Legendary creature vampire, flying lifelink. Whenever it attacks, the defending player discards a card. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And it's a 3/3. This is going to be really nice with Veavictus because we swing in and automatically they discard a card, sacrifice a card. And it also works for our other opponents' graveyards too. So if you've got multiple opponents and they each sacrifice a card, even if it's a token, it still goes to the graveyard and then it fizzles out. So it gets really big very quickly with our commander on the field, even though it is a vampire. But it's nice because it's got lifelink. Enchanter's Bane, a 2-drop enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its converted mana cost to its controller unless that player sacrifices it. I also want to note with the Haunt of the Hightower, this card's actually pretty expensive. I got it as a box promo when I bought my War of the Spark box because they had extra of these Ravnica box promos. So if you're gonna replace it, I would suggest that you use I can't remember the name. It'll come to me eventually, but it's 8 of the Cowl. That's the card that you should use, which is a 5-drop, 3 colorless, 2 green enchantment. At the beginning of it has Revolt at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a permanent card, you can put it into play. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your deck. So it's a really good card. You've got Genesis Hydra. 2 and X. When you cast it, remove the top X of your library. You may put an online permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among the bottom of the battlefield. Then shuffle the rest into your library, and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. It's a very straightforward card. Then we have, what is this? We've got Firewild Border Post. It's 3. I didn't explain what the Border Post did in the last video, so I'm going to explain this now. It says you may pay 1 and return a basic land you control to its owner's hand rather than pay its mana cost, and it comes into play tapped, and it taps for a black or green, this one specifically. Next up, we have Storrev Dvarkin Lynch. I believe that's how you pronounce that. 1, 2 black, and a green legendary creature zombie elf wizard. 5/4 with trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, return to your hand target creature or planeswalker card in your graveyard that wasn't put there in this combat. So it's a really nice card. You're definitely going to be using it if your stuff dies quite a bit. Consuming Vapors, it's a 3 in black, sorcery, target player sacrifices a creature, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness with rebound, which means as it resolves, your first time of casting it from your hand, it has to be from your hand, you exile it, and then if you do exile it, you cast it at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, but it doesn't rebound again because it has to be cast from your hand in order for rebound to work. We've got Grow from the Ashes, a 3-drop sorcery, kicker for 2, search your library for basic land card, put on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If it was kicked, you search for 2 instead, and then put them both on the battlefield and shuffle. So, just one of our things. We've got Hellkite Charger, which is a really nice card and actually combos with another card we have in here. So it's 4 and 2 red. It's a dragon. I think it's a 5/5. I can't tell. This picture's just getting blurrier. Okay, there we go. It's got Flying Haste. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 7. If you do untap all attacking creatures, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. And we have a card in here that gives us 6 mana when it attacks. So you pay 1 every time, and then you get to attack again, which is really nice. And we can use Veavictus to keep on doing, like, we can sacrifice one of our tapped lands and possibly get more lands and potentially win the game just by taking more combat steps. It's really nice. We got Charmbreaker Devils. It's a 6-drop 4/4 creature devil. At the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, it gets +4/+0 until the end of the turn. So that's really good, actually. We got Samurai Convergence. It's in the 6 and 2 green enchantment. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control at the beginning of your end step. Create a 5/5 green worm creature token. It's not really helpful because all of our stuff has flying, but I mean, at the same time, we can attack and not get attacked, and it also helps us on the ground. Archetype of Endurance, a 6 and 2 green enchantment creature boar. Creatures you control have hexproof. Creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and can't have or gain hexproof, and it's a 6/5. So a good attacker, plus it gives all our stuff hexproof, which is amazing. Who wouldn't want that? We've got 6 and 2 black for a Bordigan Hellkite. Creature Dragon, Flash Flying, 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, does 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players, which is really good for taking out little guys. Harrow, 3-drop instant. As additional cost to cast it, you must sacrifice a land, and then you search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield, and then shuffle. They do not come intact. Kai's Ghost Form, a 1-drop enchantment. Enchant creature or planeswalker you control. When it dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. Straightforward, is really nice. This is probably one of my favorite cards in here. Journey of Discovery, a 3-drop sorcery. Choose one, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Or you may play up to 2 additional lands this turn with Entwine for an additional 3. And Entwine means that you get to do both. And if you have Zendikar Resurgence out, you can just tap 3 lands and then go do both, and then you've got your 2 extra lands and 2 extra plays, which is 4 additional mana. So you basically play 2 mana to go get 4 additional mana every turn thereafter. Stolen Strategy is a 5-drop enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those exile cards. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells, which gets really annoying to our opponents very quickly. And I'm sure that you can imagine that. And then we also get to use their own kill spells against them and stop them from using them against us, etc. It's really nice. Nyxlis, the Hate Twisted, a 5-drop 5 loyalty Nyxlis Planeswalker. Whenever an opponent draws a card, it deals 1 damage to that player, and -2 destroy target creature's controller draws 2 cards. We don't want them drawing cards, but otherwise it's a really good card to have in here. Krenko, the 10 Street Kingpin, a 3-drop legendary creature goblin. Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then create number of 1/1 red creature tokens equal to its power. It's a 1/2 initially, and we have ways to make this thing really strong. Plus, they shouldn't be worrying about it, because they're going to be worrying about all the dragons coming at them, as opposed to worrying about the little 1/2 until it gets really big, and then it actually is a problem. Glorybringer is a 5-drop 4/4 Flying Haste. You may exert it as it attacks, and when you do, it does 4 damage to target non-dragon creature and opponent controls. Casualties of War, 2 black and 2 green. Choose 1 or more. Destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment, or land, or planeswalker. And you get to do all of them, or as many as you want. Tyrian Mauler, it's a 3-drop 2/2 changeling. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on it. And since it's a changeling, it's a dragon, and that means that it triggers all of our nice little dragon stuff, which is wonderful. Savage Ventmaw, this is the other one I was talking about. It's a 6-drop 4/4 flyer. Whenever it attacks, you add 3 red and 3 green to your mana pool until the end of the turn. This mana doesn't empty from your mana pool as steps and phases end. We've got Garna, the Blood Flame. A 5-drop 3/3 legendary creature human warrior flash. When it enters the battlefield, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere this turn. Other creatures you control have haste. And with the Deadbridge Chant, which should be in here as opposed to the big expensive board wipe, what you can do is you can play both of them, and then you mill 10 with Deadbridge Chant, then any creatures automatically go to your hand because of Garna. If you wanted to do that, you don't have to. Roommate Dragon, 3 and Jund, flying. When it enters the battlefield, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying, and it's a 4/4 dragon with flying. So, it's really nice. Dragonlair Spider. This is the spider I was talking about before when I did my Ishkana deck tech. It's 2 colorless, 2 black, 2 green, reach 5/6. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 green insect creature token on the battlefield. It's not as good as I thought, because I obviously thought that it was way better than it was, but it's still really good, and then we can sacrifice the creature tokens to Veavictus, and we don't have to worry about sacrificing an actually important permanent, and plus they can jump. We've Silverclad Ferocidons, I can't read today. 5, 2 red, creature dinosaur enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices permanent. It's an 8/5, which is really nice. Ilharg is really funny, because you can use Ilharg with whatever the other dragon is that when it enters the battlefield, it returns a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Bladewing. You can use it with Bladewing, and then every turn just, return a dragon from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is really funny. But he's a 5-drop legendary creature, Boar God. Trample, 6/6. Whenever it attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. If it is put into when it dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, third from the top, which you should always do because that card's amazing. Dragon Tempest. It's a 2-drop enchantment. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until the end of the turn. And whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. That can kill people very quickly. We've got Bow of Nyleas, 3-drop legendary enchantment artifact. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Pay 2, tap it, choose 1, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or it deals 2 damage to target creature with flying, or you gain 3 life, or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library in any order. It's an especially important card, because if we can give something with Trample Death Touch, it gets annoying. Indulgent Tormentor is it costs 3 and 2 black, creature demon flying, 5/3 at the beginning of your upkeep. Draw a card unless target opponent sacrifices creature or pays 3 life. If you wanted to replace this with a dragon, I would suggest Skithrix, because Skithrix has Infect, and if you have Sarkin out with Skithrix, you're automatically giving every single creature that attacks you a -1/-1 counter, which is beautiful. Also, if you can find a dragon that has Death Touch, because I'm sure that there's dragons with Death Touch, you could add one of those in, because then that would automatically kill anything that attacked you if you have Sarkin out. Scourge of Valakast, 2 and 3 red, flying 4/4. Whenever another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. I thought I just went over that effect. Funny how we have 2 of those. It's like they're supposed to be played at the exact same time. You can pay red and it gets +1/+0 until the end of the turn. Crucible of Fire. It's a 4-drop enchantment. Dragons creatures you control get +3/+3. Chandra Pyrogenius. 4 and 2 red. Chandra Planeswalker. +2, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. -3, it deals 4 damage to target creature. -10, it deals 6 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls with 5 loyalty. You could probably replace this with a better Chandra. I don't have a better Chandra, and I bought that one for 25 cents because it was very damaged. So, yay. I'm fine with putting that in, and it's better than the new Chandra, in my opinion. Sarkin the Masterless, 3 and 2 red. Legendary Planeswalker Sarkin with 5 loyalty. Whenever a creature attacks you or a Planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. See what I mean? Not much is going to be attacking you after too long. +1 until the end of turn, each Planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature and gains flying, or -3, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. which would trigger everything else that says when a dragon enters the battlefield, do etc. Vanefire Border Post, it's a 3-drop artifact. You may pay 1 and return basic land you control to its owner's hand rather than pay its mana cost. It comes into play tapped, and it taps for black or red. We've got probably the rest of my lands. I'm assuming that's what these are. As you can see, every single one of these lands is basic land, because I didn't want to have to search through my collection and actually find my non-basics. Okay, Hoarding Dragon, 3 and 2 red, 4/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card, exile it, then shuffle your library. And when it dies, you may put the exile card into its owner's hand. And we're always going to be choosing, if we can, the Bow of Nylea. That's a very powerful card. Spawn of Thraxes is 5 and 2 red, flying 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of mountains you control, which is why all of our mountains are, which is why we run all the basic lands. Or you see the Falling Star, 5 and a green, or 5 and a red, I don't know why I said green. Legendary creature, dragon, spirit, flying. When it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying, and it's a 5/5. That could kill off some of our stuff, mostly the insect tokens if we have any. And Gaia's Blessing is a 2-drop sorcery. Target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard in their library, draw a card. And when it is put into your graveyard from your library, you shuffle your graveyard into your library, so it's anti-mill. There was a card that got put in here, I'm not sure which card it was, that wasn't supposed to initially be in here. Like, there was a second card that I put in here that wasn't supposed to be initially in here. And you should definitely replace that if you get the chance. It might have been the Obnixilus, and the card that was supposed to be in here that I ended up taking out was Death Sprout. If I'm remembering, if that's what it is. It's one colorless, and then you have 2 black and 1 green. It's an instant, destroy target creature, and then search your library for a basic land card and put it into play tapped. So that could be something that you might want to put in. I don't think that the deck needs it. It hasn't needed it at all. I've not drawn it in a game. Veavictus does all the work, and all the other dragons are there to support them. That's basically what happens, because you just blow up their flyer. If they don't have a flyer, they get hit for 6 damage. You hit them 4 times with the Veavictus, and they die. That's basically how it works. You get down Crucible of Dragons, or whatever the Dragon Crucible is, that gives them +3/+3. You hit them 3 times, and then they die. That's how it works. That's normally how you win. You just bam, bam, bam. Oh, you're dead. That's unfortunate. That's about how this deck goes. So, thank you guys for watching. This has been the Jund Dragon deck. At least I hope that that's Jund. If that's not Jund, what would it be? It would be Gruul. No, it's Jund. It's Jund, because Gruul's just black and green. So yeah, I don't know, I get the two confused. I don't play him as often as I probably should. But that's the deck. Dark Imposter was the other card that was in here, now that I'm remembering. No, it was Dead Sprout. It was Death Sprout. Dark Imposter could definitely go in here, and that would be a fine addition, I think. And if you're going to try and upgrade it, there's a dragon that would possibly be better than Veavictus as a commander, but I love Veavictus as a commander anyway. But it's a dragon that says, when it enters the battlefield, you gain control of all dragons, and so you can do stuff like that, and then make other things, changelings, and Morophon would be a wonderful addition. And if you're going to add in Morophon, that opens up the option to have all 5 colors, and if you're going to do that, add in Joda, and then you can cast all your dragons for 0, if that's what you want to do. So, here's the deck tech. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.